Hello everyone, this is Dr. Ashok, Sexologist from International Center of Sexology Research and Development, HANUMAN JUNCTION, KRISHNA District, Andhra Pradesh, India. Let's discuss today the values related to human sexuality. Sexuality is a natural and healthy part of living. Curiosity is the means by which human beings learn about themselves and about the things around them. Sexuality is part and parcel of the human personality, and being curious about sexual matters is natural and common. All persons are sexual. This means that every human being has sex organs, sexual feelings, sexual urges, expressions of these sexual urges, and sexual behaviors. This exists in some aspect of their right from the time a person is born and continues until death. Sexuality includes physical, ethical, spiritual, social, psychological, and emotional dimensions. Every person has dignity and self worth. Respecting someone else's customs or behavior does not imply that we have to give up our own. Sexual behaviors evoke strong human emotions of sadness and joy, as well as intense physical feelings of pleasure and pain. These feelings are evoked in every human being regardless of sex, age, or social background. Development during puberty varies with individuals. Teenagers become anxious and tend to compare themselves with their friends. Friends need to be supportive and respect the individual by refraining from teasing or ragging. The dignity of the individual has to be maintained. Every human being has the right to expect and strive for happiness as well as to avoid experiencing pain. This applies to both their entire life as well as to their sexuality. In a pluralistic society, people should respect and accept the diversity of values and beliefs about sexuality that exist in a community. All individual expressions of sexuality should be acceptable provided they are non coercive, that is, non persuasive or non restraining by force to humans as well as to animals, as in bestiality. They do not cause physical or mental harm. They are private. They are legal. Sexual relationships should never be coercive or exploitative. Sometimes sexuality is used as a means of oppressing those who are less powerful than oneself. Example, males over females, the rich against the poor, boss over employee, war victors over the defeated. Such sexual relationships are coercive and exploitative. They bring sexual pleasure to one person to the expense of that of another. These relationships degrade the latter's human dignity and self worth. Sexual relationships should be based on mutual trust, honesty, commitment, and respect. Every human being has the right to seek personal happiness through relationships based on mutual trust, honesty, commitment, and respect. Men and women must exercise this right in order to get the best out of their sexual relationship. Sexual relationship has to be one of sharing, caring, and loving on both sides. If egos and gender biases of male superiority enter, it will result in hurt and unhappiness. All children should be loved and cared for. Since children are helpless and vulnerable, they need to be protected and nurtured till they are old enough to manage independently. This responsibility must be fulfilled by the parents or guardians and in their absence by the state. Love is a part of caring for children that is essential for their development. Male and female children should both be treated equally since they both grow up to take part in procreation. Men and women are an integral part of society. Hence, both should be treated alike right from their birth. A society that prefers a male child and treats the female child as unwanted is exhibiting a gender bias. This bias, if carried further, will deprive the female child of her right to good nutrition, good health, good medical care, and good education. This may result in irreparable damage to the girl and the future mother, which can affect the well being of her future family. All sexual decisions have effects or consequences. Sexual intercourse is a physical act between two people both having the right to its pleasure. It is a very intimate relationship between two persons and the most effective form of non-verbal communication. When deciding on a particular expression of sexuality, the individual must also accept the effects or consequence of that decision. These effects may be positive or negative. They may be immediate or long term. For instance, sex can end in an unplanned pregnancy. On the other hand, choosing to live in a mutually faithful sexual relationship prevents STD or HIV/AIDS. All persons have the right and the obligation to make responsible sexual choices. Sexuality is expressed in a variety of ways. Every human being has the opportunity to choose which sexual expression to adopt. These expressions could be minor, example, style of dressing or speech, or major, example, heterosexuality versus bisexuality versus homosexuality, or celibacy versus monogamy versus polygamy. Every individual has the right to make decisions which bring him or her personal happiness. At the same time, each person has the obligation to ensure that these choices do not deprive other people of their happiness. Individuals and society benefit when children are able to discuss sexuality with their parents or other trusted adults. If there is no dialogue between the parents and their children, ignorance and incomplete or incorrect information will adversely affect the proper development of the children's personality. There are many anxieties and experiences which, if not shared, will make the young person feel that this happened only to me. Very young people do not know how to express their feelings properly. They find it difficult to communicate with their peers, especially those of the opposite sex. Part of the journey from childhood to maturity involves learning to be comfortable with one's identity, one's feelings, one's behavior, and one's surroundings. A large part of this comfort relates to the sexual aspects of one's being. Comfort or discomfort is largely influenced by the attitudes of important people in one's life, namely parents, teachers, or close friends. An attitude of openness and acceptance indicates to the growing child that sexuality is natural and not something to be ashamed of. Free and frank discussion between parents and children about aspects related to sexuality can help the latter to avoid unnecessary shame and guilt because of misconceptions picked up from other sources of information. Young people explore their sexuality as a natural process of achieving sexual maturity. Young people at any age express their sexual curiosities through exploration and experimentation. In babyhood, this takes the form of fondling the genitals. In children, this may be evident in doctor patient play. Adolescents curiously try out expressing their sexual feelings through holding hands, embracing, or reading sexually explicit material. These adjacent feelings are natural to growing up. They need to be accepted, understood, and properly channelized. Explorations of adolescence should be within the value framework of the society they live in. Premature involvement in sexual behavior poses risks. While sexual curiosity and the need to experiment is perfectly natural, young people must be informed that their sexual decisions have certain effects or consequences. Sexual behavior must be responsible and self disciplined. Young people should be taught how to accept their feelings and urges as well as how to channelize them because their behavior affects both themselves and others. They should discipline themselves and be responsible for their actions. Abstaining from sexual intercourse is the most effective method of avoiding pregnancy and preventing STD and HIV/AIDS. In India, it is expected that young people will become sexually active only after marriage. This is in order to prevent unwanted pregnancies, risky abortions, STD and HIV/AIDS infection. These are very real possibilities arising out of premature sexual involvement. Sexual abstinence is the most effective safeguard. Young people who are involved in sexual relationships need access to information about healthcare services. Despite popular belief, many youngsters in India are becoming sexually active at an early age. If we expect young people to be responsible for their sexual behavior, we must provide them with unbiased information that will enable them to do so. This includes information about healthcare services like family planning facilities, abortion clinics, STD and HIV/AIDS services. Values need constant re-evaluation on the basis of historical perspective, concepts such as human dignity, individual freedom and equality, and scientific knowledge. For example, for a long time, the role of men and women, their dress, behavior, and occupations was clearly stereotyped. There has been a very slow but definite breakaway from this pattern. Today, women are also breadwinners and men help in housework. Further, intercommunal marriages are on the rise. Prospective partners look at each other as persons with common interests, culture, and education rather than focus on each other's caste or religion. With regard to scientific information in sexuality, there has been a revolution. Thank you. Your Dr. Ashok.